What happened to the smartest kid in your class? He's in jail for murder. Came as a surprise. I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that. He was a really nice, friendly guy. Didn't expect him to ever be violent. Then one day I read he shot his business partner execution style. I'm going to need you to elaborate much more on that, this time in the form of a limited docu-series. And now it's hard to elaborate on something I don't really know all that much about, sadly. In school he was known for being super friendly and helpful to all the other students in class, even held study groups and stuff. A few years later and I read he killed his business partner and that he got connected to a bunch of fraud and embezzlement cases. The smartest kid in my school was really popular and was one of my closest friends. But when he graduated, he left everyone and everything behind, including his family. He even changed his name. I found out this little bit of information because a friend went to an academic conference and showed me a group photo and he wasn't it. I exclaimed, "That's my friend Pascal." He kept his first name, but his last name was anagram of his original name. So you changed your name to Pascal Lidbacher? You didn't like your old last name? I knew a guy who did this. One of my best friend's older brother. He got a degree in German and moved to South Korea for a little while. Next thing we know, he had moved back to his native state, but to a small town, and had taken on a whole new persona. Different name and all. Apparently he spoke with a German accent in his new life. We met a guy who only knew him as a new version. That conversation was wild. There are two. I remember one of them crying when they got an A- on a test in like 7th grade. One of them, the one who cried, is an executive in a Fortune 500 company. Nothing special, but making a lot of money. The other one is a brain surgeon. Sounds like my cousin. She had a complete breakdown from getting an A- on a test, but her father was also super physically abusive if she got anything less than 100%. Even as a young child, coloring outside the lines was not allowed. She's now a teacher with an Instagram perfect life. It's far from perfect. After never having even smoked a cigarette or drunk alcohol in high school, straight as all the way through, he got a full ride to a really good university. As a freshman he dropped acid, walked out in front of a car and was killed. Sort of reminds me of a college friend. He was straight edge, no drugs, alcohol. I think he even stayed away from caffeine. Said addiction ran in his family, so it made sense. Decided though that immediately after graduation he wanted a huge party and had his first alcohol. Got insanely trashed but survived. For about 20 years he died of liver failure due to severe alcoholism at the age of 41. I hate that I remember where he was, where it started, but what did we know? Fentanyl happened to her. Married the most abusive guy ever and had 3 kids, divorced. Fentanyl is so goddamn destructive. I see their tragic stories play out every shift I work. It's soul draining. I used fentanyl for a time. I read a comment here once that went, "You have to be lucky every time you use fentanyl. You only have to be unlucky once." Reading that made me got on methadone. He got sick with a rare stomach disease and isn't doing too good. A guy got hired with his chemical engineer, seems really intelligent, and just went off work around 5-6 months ago with a rare stomach disease. Wonder if it's the same person. Got a full ride to Harvard, did an internship his first summer at Intel, and was killed by a drunk driver a few weeks after arriving in California. Fucking couldn't believe it when it happened 25 years ago. Still can't really. I was playing a game on Discord one night, and this guy my friend and I hadn't talked to in years was killed that night. One of the dudes on the Discord was still close with him. It was fucking awful. He was absolutely mutilated, nicest, most intelligent guy, murdered by a drunk driver. We were literally making jokes about us hanging out the night before and how we hadn't heard from him in a long time. Back then I was ignorant and would drive if I felt fine, but that was such a horrible thing and I felt like a piece of shit nowadays that it had to really resonate with me to understand. Someone taking the life of anyone that hasn't had a chance to live for literally no reason whatsoever. Taking a life period. But it hit way harder knowing the guy and who he was. There were two. There were twins. They're both geneticists now with PhDs and they work at the same university. The smartest in my class were twins too, would get perfect or almost perfect grades in every subject, like 100% in almost every test or assignment, whether it's a math test or history paper. Did a ton of volunteer hours too. They both got accepted into Cambridge University's math program. I think only 5 or 10 applicants got accepted from all of Canada. One's a neurosurgeon and the other a cardiologist now. Smartest guy from my high school became an actual rocket scientist. I'm a rocket scientist. One of the dark secrets is it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be a rocket scientist. We had a few folks that skated by with gentlemen says, I'm a neuroscientist and I say the same thing, mostly cause I'm still in Donbass. She worked at Johns Hopkins doing research with psilocybin. I do know a few people who got really into studying psilocybin after high school. I majored in applied sentinel neuropharmacology myself. Went to a big college, got a degree in tech, now makes 6 figures and owns a townhouse outside of Baltimore. He lives with his grandmother mainly, smokes a shitload of weed, flies a girl from Colorado to fuck and smoke with. I married his sister. He went to MIT, works for Apple and has a very expensive home in California. He also has a wife and 4 kids and seems to be very happy. I remember he was programming games in high school and was valedictorian, a big nerd who became a wealthy big nerd. Smart kid, the happy ending. Dropped out of college to marry and support the much younger woman he got pregnant. Now, 30 years later, owns a board game store with a large back room for mini painting and games, and plays dad to help the neurodivergent kid in town. Still married to the same woman too. It's not a high-flying life, but he makes a difference to so many people. Edit. Wow, this blew up. To make y'all feel better, he was 23 I think and she was 18. A big age gap when you're young. It was also in the Netherlands, where at least at the time, I've been gone a while, we didn't really care so much as long as it wasn't 10-year difference or one of them was under 15. Teenagers have sex drives, it happens. I had such a big crush on her and told her. We dated, she moved across country to study and is now a doctor. So proud of her even though our lives changed path. Funny enough, the same thing happened to me, except after I confessed my feelings, she never talked to me again. When I was in the middle school, we had a super smart kid, joined later on in the semester that was always teased because he was above everyone else mentally. I think in 8th grade he was doing 10th or 11th grade mathematics. Any test that he took he passed with flying colors, hardly even studying. He befriended me. I was kinda quiet in middle school because of stuff going on at home. His mom always made me an extra sandwich whenever she made his lunch. I lost contact after graduation, but a few years later when I was a sophomore in college, I decided to look him up on a Facebook and couldn't believe what I saw. There was my friend the Branik smoking salvia out of a huge bong as his profile picture. I think he had to take it down because when I looked him up again, he had pics of him drinking out of funnel. Thank you very much for watching and see you in next video.